live. All right. Pierre, hello, and thank you so much for finding time for our conversation on my channel.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Zhenya.
Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. My guest today is a noted Israeli filmmaker, Pierre Rehov, and we'll be talking about his latest documentary called Pogrom, or Pogroms, as in plural, that started streaming on Monday. This Monday, October 7th, it started streaming on the tragic anniversary of the Hamas attack. So this film is mostly about Hamas attack, but even more importantly, it is about the aftermath of the attack and the shocking reaction of the world, well, big part of the world, to this attack. And, about the price that the world may have to pay for this moral confusion. And this will be the center of our conversation, because even on the poster of the film, under the big word of the title, Pogroms, in a smaller font, there's a question: could America be next? So this big question will be probably the center of our conversation. So please give us likes, then more people will see our conversation. And also, please write to us in chat. Write to us, where are you, watching from? It's very interesting because I have subscribers from all over the world. But my first question, Pierre, is a practical question, simple practical question. I already had an episode about your film on Monday, on the anniversary of the attack, and it was a big response to my episode. And the most frequent question that I got from people: where can we watch the film? It is streaming on what platform? So please list for us all the platforms that people can use to watch the film.
Okay. First of all, there is a very simple answer to that. People should just go to pogroms with an S .info, because as we have new platforms accepting the film, they will all be indicated in this internet site.
Yes, and by the way, this web address is already under our talk. Under my episode, I already put the web address.
Information, but to make it, I mean, we have a paywall on Castier. We have the film is on the Apple TV. It's on Google Plus. It's going to be soon on Amazon Prime, on Tubi TV, and we are negotiating a few more venues. So again, the film is expanding. The more success we are going to see in some of the platforms, the more platforms are going to accept it. And the funny thing is, you're going to think that it's interesting. For instance, Apple TV accepted the film under condition that they would not take it for Great Britain. No England, no Great Britain, no United Kingdom. No, not over there.
Yeah,
that's it. Every other country speaking English, no problem. But no Arab country, including Great Britain.
Well, that's sad. So they qualify Great Britain now as one of the Arab countries, sort of, right?
Well,
so
that's what they do, actually.
Ideologically, sadly, we understand why it is so. And again, everybody, the website of the film is already under my episode, and you can click and get all the information where you can watch it. And also, you can watch it on the website. If you pay $7, you can watch it instantly on the website, I believe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can actually, it's on the price is the same everywhere. It's going to be $6.99 everywhere. And for people who tell me, well, why make you? I mean, I had somebody like this on Twitter accusing me of making money on the tragedy of October 7th. I had to just answer to her, but at this point, even though I received some donations, we are in the minus of more than $15,000, and I didn't get paid for my work. So yeah, if we get a little bit of money back, at least perhaps I'll be able to make more films, even though sometimes I'm not being paid for making them, but we have to continue. So if people want to have everything for free, at least one of them should give me $1 million so I can continue my work for another 10 years.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. So what was the initial response? So the film started streaming 2 days ago on Monday. What is the initial response that you're getting in general?
It begins with an A, as in amazing. Yeah, people are very, very thrilled. I'm receiving comments from people who have watched it. Actually, I started receiving comments mostly from the paywall, because the paywall of the site, I mean, where you can see the film with a small fee, has been running now for a couple, 3 months. So we've been able to see a little bit of the reaction of the public. Also, I had a virtual premiere on Twitter, to see also the reaction of the people and to create a little bit of a buzz. I didn't see one bad comment so far. I guess not so many pro-Palestinians watched it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, Pierre, I'd like to play the teaser of the film from the film right now, and then we'll continue, okay?
Absolutely. Be my guest. Absolutely. Pleasure.
Yes, because this teaser is also on the website.
Yeah.
So here's the teaser of the film.
The Jews, they have been a very mischievous people even before the coming of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
The satanic Jews, they control everything and mostly everybody.
طب انا قاعد بكلمك من جوبا بسيم، افتح الواتس تبعه قول له وهم، شوف كيف القتلى، شوف كيف قتلك فيديو يابا، ابنك قتل يهود، هاي دخلت فيديو يابا. الله اكبر.
مصداقا لحديث نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، يقاتلون يهود حتى يقول الشجر والحجر يا عبد الله يا مسلم هذا يهودي ورائي تعال فاقتل.
October 7th was by all standards a crime against humanity with a genocidal intent. The intention was to kill and torture and injure the highest number possible of Jews just because they were Jews.
Ce qui s'est passé le 7 octobre n'est pas un attentat terroriste. C'est une horreur absolue. Ça relève d'une pathologie mentale civilisationnelle qui vise à terroriser, humilier, assassiner et faire disparaître.
It wasn't even terror attacks. It was a catastrophe that Israel never experienced as a sovereign state, and the Jewish people did not experience since the Holocaust.
What happened on October 7 was definitely a terrorist attack, if not more. What happened on October 7 was a genocide attack.
From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. مقتدى الصدر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
My late father, already in 1948, in the War of Independence, heard those Arab gangs assaulting Jewish places with a shout, "Izbah al-Yahud," slaughter the Jews. Not the Zionists, not the Israelis, the Jews.
It reminds me of the Holocaust by bullets. Systematically using the bullet to exterminate the highest number of Jews that is very comparable to the tactics of the Einsatzgruppen.
Yeah, it's powerful. So Pierre, whose voice is it at the beginning when we hear this indoctrination monologue about satanic Jews who control everybody and everything? Whose voice is it?
This one is sorry. You know, that's the worst thing you can do to me, is to ask me the name of somebody, because immediately I have a glitch in my memory, and the head of the House of Islam in America, Farrakhan, with Farrakhan.
Ah, so this is Farrakhan's voice. Very interesting. Yes, yes. Okay. And what you're showing the sculptures. What are these sculptures at the beginning?
Well, you understand that during the film, obviously, but the sculptures are, it's a memorial of the Shoah, which has been built at the Holocaust Memorial in Miami Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful piece of art. Very scary, very traumatizing, and very beautiful at the same time. So I was looking for the kind of images I could find to illustrate and make the connection between the Holocaust and an attempt of a new Holocaust of October 7. So people would understand right away visually what's the connection between the two cultures.
Right. Okay. My next question is about the information war, because your film is, among other things, a very effective, powerful tool of the information war, you know, for Israel, for Israel's cause. But I have to say that it seems that Israel, for decades, I don't know how to put it gently, but Israel has been losing informational war for decades, you know, and that's the truth. I don't know whether it's because the leadership of Israel didn't regard informational war as important as some other, you know, powers of the world, or there was not enough resources. But, you know, for example, I had this idea when during this latest glorious attack, glorious success of Israel in terms of the military and intelligence operation, this beepers, Hezbollah beepers, right? And also the stunning success with assassinating Haniya in Tehran, assassinating the leader of Hamas. I was thinking, guys, if you're so brilliant, you're geniuses in this intelligence work, how come you cannot penetrate the news organizations, BBC, you know, CBS, CNN, just penetrate them with the reporters who report the truth? Why don't you do that? So what's your answer? Why is Israel keep losing informational war?
There are many, I mean, I think I know a little bit about it because I've been investigating on that specific situation for now quite a long time. And there's not a simple answer. From the Israeli point of view, I think that Golda Meir was not right-wing or anything, or not even close to what somebody like Bibi could think. Had a say. It was, we prefer your condolences. We prefer your condemnation to your condolences. And meaning that Israel has to do what it has to do and doesn't have time to ask for the permission of whoever around the planet. This is coming from the fact that Israel was built by survivors of the Holocaust, by people who had fled the pogroms, and by people who had been expelled from Arab countries. Nobody at any moment came to the help of any one of them. Israel had to just take care of people like me, for instance, who were expelled from an Arab country. And when we are talking about Palestinian refugees nonstop, and UNRWA, what has been taken care of for Palestinian refugees, and descendants of descendants of Palestinian refugees, and it could go on forever. In 100 years, UNRWA could be still there, and there could be like 50 million Palestinian refugees. In the meantime, nobody paid attention to the Jews. So that's one reason because why Israeli government didn't put for a long time any effort into the media. Now there's another reason which is quite understandable. when you come to Israel, it's a free democracy, liberty, freedom of speech is at every level of the society, freedom of media, freedom of press. It's a free country, it's a democracy. Now, if you're working for CNN and you're sent to work on the conflict, where is the conflict? It's not in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, you know, life is nice. People go out to restaurants, to bars, to party, etc. The conflict is in Gaza and in Judea Samaria, but they renamed the West Bank, but it's over there. So now you're a journalist, you've been sent by CNN or BBC, you need to do your job, so you go over there. But over there, it's North Korea. It's USSR until the 70s. It's not a place where you have freedom of speech. First of all, if you want to do anything, you need to have a fixer. Most of the fixers are kind of members of the Hamas or members of the Palestinian Authority. If not, they couldn't be fixers. So they tell you the story that they want you to tell to the rest of the world. If you are an honest journalist, you're not going to like it. And you're going to say, no way. So you're going to tell the real story. You're going to tell the truth. And your report is going to go back to CNN or BBC. Over there certainly is a hierarchy. I mean, a lot of people above you, among them, certainly some anti-Semites, among them, certainly some who have been bought by the Qatar or, corrupted by any kind of Muslim money. And they're going to say, no, we don't want that. But in the meantime, if you insist and finally your report is going to air or is going to be published, don't go back to the Palestinian territories. Next time they're going to kill you. Next time you're going to be in real trouble. Why? It didn't happen to me, even though I've been to Gaza and to all the Palestinian territories for quite some time and many times. First of all, I'm totally independent. I don't work for a big organization. So my money, it's on my own money or people who help me, Jewish organizations, people who want to help with my work. So I don't depend on anybody. Also, because I don't work for a big network, I have cash. And I can give out cash to those guys, including the fixers. So I have the real story when the same guy is going to tell whatever Mahmoud Abbas wants, the journalist from CNN to say. So that's how I've been able to find my way around that. But and a few other guys are capable of doing that as well. I'm not the only one, thankfully and obviously. But if you're a professional journalist, this is the situation you get into. Now, there is a lot of anti-Semitism around the world. It exploded after October 7, meaning that the networks were ready, what I call the sleeping cells were in place and were ready to be activated, because you cannot have a massacre next to Gaza made by Gazans, whether innocent civilians, as they call them, or members of the Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad or FPLP or other organizations, and there were many involved in that massacre, what they call a pogrom. If you are, and you know what? I'm sorry, but I lost track of what I was saying. For once again, I went in every direction. That's yourself. You're a filmmaker, so you know how it happens in your mind.
Yes, and I have to tell you. Yes, and I have to tell you. You were still taking risks, even though you're independent. You were paying the fixers cash. Yeah, you were still risking, and it takes a lot of individual courage. I'm
going to tell you something, though. In Gaza, I got in trouble once because they didn't know I was French, and I really was scared. But the place in the world where I was the most scared was in Oxford. I was invited to the Oxford Film Festival in 2009, I think. I had a film called From the River to the Sea, Palestine Will Be Free, a call for genocide, okay? And a long time ago. And my film was, screened at the Oxford Film Festival. It was a trap. I almost got lynched. Without the security, I would not be here to talk. It was in Oxford, much more dangerous. I was in Iraq with the US Army. Nothing happened to me. I was in Gaza. I was in Jenin. I was in Bethlehem, Ramallah. I'm not going to give you the names of all the towns and cities I went, but the one time I really got in trouble, risking my life, big time, was in Oxford in 2000.
Yeah, well, it's a very telling story. But please, Pierre, be careful, because your work, yes, your work is very important. Now, let's answer this question. We just got this question. It's on the screen from Mr. Cherniak. I might need to jump off at the meeting soon. Please let me know if indeed America could be next. I'm worried, and I have to tell you, maybe you know already, Pierre, but there is this great, courageous journalist and writer and thinker who is British. His name is Douglas Murray, and he is really one of people like yourself, one of these fearless, courageous people who tell the complete truth about what's going on in our sick world right now. And in his latest interview with Barry Weiss, Douglas Murray said, and this interview is on YouTube and it's on Barry's podcast called Honestly, Douglas Murray said that maybe, unfortunately, he said, one thing that may wake up the world is a new massive terrorist attack against the Western country with massive amount of victims, massive, many people killed and injured. This maybe will be a wake-up call for the world. And he said, I don't see any other possibility. So what do you think of that?
He's right, but in the meantime, there was already a major terror attack in America in 2001, September 11, and I don't think it woke up anybody. And the problem is not, I mean, people of my generation, your generation, we live this. I mean, when I think about September 11, I know exactly where I was, what I was doing when I found about it. But for a kid who was born in 2000 and was and today is 24 years old, and this is the future of the world, September 11 is history. Nothing really happened. Yeah, it happened, but okay, in what context? And since then, Qatar has been spending $1,000 billion every year for soft power in America, making sure that we will have the right kind of professors to teach in American universities, making sure that the pro-Palestinian movements would be well-financed and be able to go on campuses. So this entire generation, this lost woke generation who believe that women are men and men are women, and Palestinians would welcome the gay community with open arms, and that the Jews are the monsters of the universe. This new generation, what are we going to do with them? Yes, if there is one day, again, perhaps another September 11 multiplied by 100, perhaps, I say perhaps, they would wake up. But there is a twist of mind in this generation. They would find a way to accuse the actual American government, if, for instance, it's Donald Trump, to accuse the Jews, because the Jews dominate the world and have all the power of the, we have the banks and the media, everything. So it's kind of rough. And why I gave this title to the film? It's because that's the only way I could actually get some attention within the American media.
Yes.
If I just call the film Pogroms without this line, people say, okay, another film about the misery of the Jews, who cares? But if America might be next, people wake up a little bit, and I got some good coverage because
it's also true. It is also true.
And it's also, unfortunately, very, very true.
Yes.
And when I'm thinking of, could America be next? I'm not thinking of just a blind attack involving a lot of people like September 11. I'm talking about perhaps a major attack in a Jewish district, Brooklyn, or a specific place with a dirty bomb. You never know. Iran now has access at least to enough material to not to make exactly an atom bomb, but they could use some of what they have to make a dirty bomb. And this is what I'm worried about. We are not dealing with people who are rational. On the other side, they are enemies. They are not rational. They think they are the hands of God, the hands of their God. And for that reason, they represent God on earth. There is nothing you can tell them. All the money in the world will not change their mind. And they are going for it. Muslim Brotherhood in one hand and Iran on the other hand. Shias and Sunnites.
Right. Pierre, my next question is that this Hamas militants, even though it's a strange word, militants, because they were doing what they were doing on October 7th, was killing and torturing civilians. So they're not really militants, because they were mostly, just taking advantage and torturing and killing people who could not do anything. Anyway, this Hamas terrorists, this creatures, they were filming themselves. That was something that historically never happened before. It was unprecedented. It was new. The Nazis, during the Holocaust, they were hiding Auschwitz. They were hiding gas chambers from the world. These people, Hamas people, do the opposite. They were filming it and advertising right away. They were sending these horrible videos right away to the relatives of the tortured and killed, and to their relatives back in Gaza. So it was a very new, totally new, shocking and horrifying strategy. So how can you explain this strategy? What was behind this strategy?
It's not exactly, at a certain level it was a strategy, but ultimately it was not. The strategy was to instill the highest level of fear within the Israeli population. And that's the reason why immediately the Israeli government tried to censor all of the available images, and the worst horrible of them. Thankfully, I saw some that are not public, and I can tell you, you don't want people to see that. Would it be only for the families of these poor women and children who have been tortured to death, burnt alive, and screaming for their life while they were burning? It's something that nobody wants to watch. And that's one thing. The other part of it is that for the people who are following Hamas, for those extreme Muslims, Jews are not human beings. So they are proud to show to the people who are in the same, who feel the same way, who think the same way, to show what they are capable of doing. Like if yourself or myself, we had the invasion of rats in our home, and we would kill a rat and send a video to our wives and say, hey, listen, the rat came and I killed him. That's about at that level. The pride of having killed people that you don't only hate, but you think they are not human beings. I'm going to tell you something about it. Many years ago, I was interviewing a lot of terrorists, and among those, I interviewed some in Israeli jails. There was a female terrorist who had tried to kill herself at the Sbarro Pizzeria 1 year after the Sbarro Pizzeria massacre, which means I'm talking 2002 or 2003, August. And so I told her, I don't understand, if you believe so much in God, why would you kill creatures made by God? Because you believe that God made all human beings. And she told me, well, God tells us also to kill insects and rats. Why not Jews?
Yeah.
She was in jail. She was treated beautifully. She had a stereophonic television in her cell that she was sharing with another woman. The food was excellent. I shared a lunch with them in jail. They had freedom to play balls and stuff. I mean, it's absolutely not the kind of jail you would see elsewhere in the Middle East. And it's definitely the kind of jail that people describe when we talk about Israel. It was not the Club Med, but it was really an interesting place to visit. And this is what she had to say about the Jews in general, including the people who are treating her so well in Israeli prison.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, but you already answered this question, because you in your films, because of your work, you spent a good deal of time with people like this, Hamas militants and with these fanatics. And I was just, but you answered the question. So so these people are beyond repair. You cannot fix these people. You cannot change their mind. So
the problem is Israel at a certain level has been stupid. The stupidity comes from letting the rest of the world, normally, I mean, especially the United Nations, continue their completely absurd taking care of the Palestinians through UNRWA. the UNRWA schools are fabrics of terrorists.
Yes.
And they have been going on forever like this. Many times, some organizations have been looking into those school books published, printed by UNRWA. The same rhetoric comes again and again and again, which means that Israel has no right to exist. And they don't do like they did in the past. When Israel conquered the Sinai in 1967, in the schools, they discovered books where they were teaching kids to learn mathematics by killing Jews. You have 10 Jews, you kill 9 Jews, how many Jews you have left? It was in the school books in Egypt. They don't go that far because, we have to be a little bit politically correct after all. But what they do, they praise their own terrorists like the national heroes. And again, each time they show a map of Palestine, it includes all of Israel. So 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations. The other mistake by Israel was certainly the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords was by taking, you had Yasser Arafat who was expelled with all his gang in Tunisia. France made sure that Yasser Arafat would escape alive from Beirut, where he had already escaped from Jordan. Yeah. The whole story of, the Fatah tried to, and the Palestinians trying to take over Jordanian king massacring 20,000 of them, and they fled to Lebanon, and in Lebanon, now you have the Hezbollah, but by then it was only Yasser Arafat and his people. But anyhow, all this led to the situation that we have today, because why did they have to call back Yasser Arafat within the Palestinian territories? At the end of World War II, it was possible to make peace with Germany because Nazis were basically defeated and Hitler had killed himself. So you were dealing with the people who wanted to replace the Nazis and were not Nazis themselves, even though you could not, change the entire society. But step by step, today, Germany is a good friend of Israel. It's a free country. It's part of Europe. It has nothing to do, even though Merkel tried to take care of it in the wrong direction, but it has nothing to do with what Nazi Germany was. Israel defeats all of the Arab countries around it, makes peace with Egypt, good peace. I mean, not a very stable peace, but still a peace. Makes a peace with Jordan. How can you make peace with a terror organization? You just defeat a terror organization. The only person in the world who actually understood how to deal with the Palestinians was President Trump. Because the Abraham Accords, instead of seeing the whole situation from the inside to the outside, was seeing the situation from the outside into the inside. Okay, what is going on there? You have a small country, very, very tiny country called Israel, surrounded by Arab countries. All those Arab countries at a certain point try to destroy Israel. So in Israel, people are scared. They are develop a certain paranoia. This situation is influencing them on the daily life. In the meantime, each time Israel tries to defend itself, the United Nations, European Union, Russia, China, everybody jumps on Israel and tells them to stop. So the Palestinians know very well that they can go all the way and nothing really bad is going to happen to them. And it's been going on since the birth of the state of Israel. So the only solution for Israel at this point, and I'm sorry to go away from your original question, but to my point of view, the only solution for Israel is actually what Israel is doing right now. Don't care about the international community. Go to hell if you don't like what we're doing. It's a question of survival, and we're going to win. And this victory is going to shake every other country in the world, because you cowards around the planet, you cowards of the Democratic Party, you cowards of the European Union, you traitors and dictators in Russia and China, when you're going to see the big, giant, dangerous, scary Islam being defeated by David one more time at every level, Lebanon, Gaza, Judea, Samaria, Iran, all of which they are being shocked and hidden, and and hit on the head every single day since October 7, 2023, and there is no other way. The Jews, and I'm among them, Israelis, and I am among them, we want to be loved. We always wanted to be loved. We are trying to be nice to everybody. We are trying to be nice to the Palestinians. We are trying to be nice to everybody in the world. Please let us do what we like to do. Let us have fun. Let us have a good life. Let us build something. Let us develop new technology. Give shalom. Let us live in peace, you know?
Yeah.
That's us. This is over. You don't want to love us? Now we're going to teach you to respect us. What Bibi is doing right now, and believe me, I was not a big fan of Bibi. Okay, but what Bibi is doing right now is teaching respect, not only to the Arabs, but to the rest of the world. When Macron says we should have an embargo on weapons sent to Israel, first of all, France is only providing pieces for the Iron Dome. So what? We don't not going to let you defend your population. This is defending Jews is being aggressive. Basically, this is what he's saying. You can go to hell, like our French people run in. And Bibi just said it very, very precisely. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on Biden when Biden also tries to play some trick against Israel. Right now, Israel is in a situation where it's going to survive or it's going to disappear. So nobody, no media, no BBC, no CNN, no Macron is going to stop Israel for doing what they have to do, for what we have to do. Total victory against the monsters. That's it.
Yes.
No matter the cost. Even if this costs tens of thousands of innocent civilians on their side, we do not target them. Their terrorists are hiding behind them. Okay, they put the terrorists in power. Their problem, not my problem.
Yes, well said. And I hope Sasha Gabriel is watching this, because what you're saying is almost word for word. We have been saying in our broadcasts with Sasha Gabriel that Israel, same with Ukraine, both Israel and Ukraine should stop looking at USA for the instructions, should do what they need to do for survival, should do what they need to do. Yes,
yeah,
I want to.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just, in 1973, during the Kippur War,
yes.
Israel was caught exactly like we were caught on October 7 for the same reasons, by the way. And we're not going to elaborate on that, but for exactly the same reason, the arrogance at some levels of the society, looking down at the Palestinians like you are not capable of doing anything. And also what we call Israel balagan, which means disorder, organized disorder. And Israel was very, very close to being defeated by Egypt. The Egyptians were moving, and Israel was fighting 60,000 men against 450,000 men, because the Egyptian army was 200,000 and Syria had 150,000 men. And by then, on Kippur, they were only the official army, no reservists, nobody except for those who were there. So we had 60,000 men against 350,000. Israel had almost no weapons, only the what was left of the 6 Days War. And France had already boycotted Israel, and so we could not receive weapons from, etc., etc. So at a certain point, Golda Meir called Kissinger, who was Nixon's
foreign minister.
Foreign minister, yeah. And she told him, listen, we don't want another Shoah. If we don't receive enough weapons to defend ourselves, we're going to have to nuke the Aswan Dam. We're going to nuke the Aswan Dam, which means that Cairo is going to disappear. Within 10 minutes, the decision was made, and the number of weapons that America sent to Israel allowed them to, push away all the. So this is it. Israel has been always, trying to say we don't have the bomb. Israel has the bomb, and the rest of the world knows that Israel has the bomb. It's like the death of Ismail Haniyeh. Everybody knows that the Mossad killed Ismail Haniyeh, but for geopolitical reasons and because of the Muslim mentality, if you say it officially, it's going to be even worse. So you don't say anything. You don't deny. You don't say yes. You don't say no. And so you leave them in the situation of, are we going to attack Israel when they don't even say that they killed? This is very Middle East. The face showing off is the most important thing. When you say something in the Muslim world, it's the same thing as if you do the thing. And unfortunately, the Western world doesn't understand that.
Yes, yes. Pierre, I want to read to you one comment that I received after my Monday episode about your film. In your film, and in fact, even in this teaser that I played, one of the people you're interviewing is this former Secretary General of Doctors Without Borders,
Yes.
Dr. Richard Racine, and
Yeah.
he's a older French gentleman. And he says in his monologue, he says that Hamas is a mental pathology of the civilization. That's the quote. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Hamas
Yeah.
is a mental pathology of the civilization. So here's what one lady wrote as a comment, and I'm reading to you. I'm quoting this lady. I think that mental pathology of civilization is not Hamas, which has nothing to do with civilization. Gaza is a closed enclave where hatred of Jews and violence are taught from the cradle as the norm. Mental pathology is what happened to Western civilization and its elites, which in fact sided with the terrorists, demanding that Israel surrender on Hamas's terms and refusing to sell weapons to Israel. At the same time, the right-wingers who support Israel are called Nazis who threaten Jews. The question is, from whom are the Jews of France who survived the Holocaust fleeing? From Le Pen? And who are those university professors who celebrated the October 7th attack? This is not even a pathology. It is a mental catastrophe and most likely irreversible. Or maybe this is not a pathology. Could this be a continuation of what has always existed in Europe and the States under a thin veil of fake repentance, which has now fallen away, revealing the truth?
This lady says a lot of very good and interesting things. I would agree with almost everything she says. All those people who want to kill the Jews, I call them predators. Until October 7, the predators didn't smell the blood of Jews. But on October 7, they smelled the blood of Jews. And when a predator smells the blood of a prey, this is when he is ready to attack. And this is what happened. First of all, you had all the sleeping cells all around the world, financed by Qatar, sometimes manipulated by Iran, definitely with some Muslim money coming from oil. And they were ready. But what is a tragedy is that people enjoyed to see Jews being massacred. People who would, like the Nazis in 1939, 1941, the SS would go home after having killing 20 or 100 or 2,000 Jews during the day, would go home, see his wife, his children, have dinner, and forget about it. Eventually, if he had a little bit of soul left, he would get drunk to forget what he did during the day, but that was it. Okay? And this is exactly what has been happening, and she's right to say it was not only sleeping cells financed by Iran and Iraq, it was also within a lot of people, this sleeping hatred of Jews that all of a sudden woke up because they could smell the blood of Jews. But this is about the Western society. Now, the pathology of the Muslim civilization is a little bit different. You're talking of a civilization in which almost everything is forbidden. Everything that could bring you some joy, especially a relationship between men and women, especially sexuality, all of this is forbidden to a level unthinkable in the worst of bigotry in the Western world. And I've been studying a little bit of this phenomenon, especially, talking with friends of mine, a friend of mine in New York with a forensic psychiatrist working for VLBI, and also some other people of that level, especially since I was very interested in the psychology of serial killers, and I was trying to compare, because I've been so close to suicide killers who failed in their mission. So we are capable of having those discussions about where does it happen that somebody will all of a sudden want to kill everybody, including himself? In the case of the serial killers, the pathology is most of the time coming from sexual frustration, and but they don't kill themselves. They just want to kill other people and eventually torture them and do a lot of horrible things, but they don't want to kill themselves. This level of hatred and pathology in the Muslim world is a little bit higher than the one of just a serial killer, of a serial killer whose grandmother or parents were a little bit, dominant, and he had problems in his childhood, and all the reasons why somebody becomes Ted Bundy. Now you have a civilization where 10 Buddhis are created every single day at every level of civilization, because sexuality, fun, everything is forbidden in this life. But when you're dead, everything is possible. They believe in the 72 virgins. They actually do believe that a shaheed, a guy who is going to kill himself and killing other people, or who is going to be killed by a rocket, what they call shaheed, a martyr, they are going straight to heaven. And in heaven, they will be welcomed by 72 virgins. And those virgins are very good qualities. Number one, they are totally transparent. You can see through them, which is very interesting. I will explain you why in a second. And secondly, they are virgins. They wake up virgin every single day of their eternity. They are renewable virgins. The reason why they are transparent is linked to a specificity of the Muslim world. The kids get circumcised at age 7. In the Jewish, among Jews, we get circumcised at age 7 days, not 7 years old. So there is this complex of castration, the Freudian, the very specific complex of castration, which is basically among every male of the Muslim society. And for that reason, when they become extremists and decide to become terrorists, or for any reason become suicide killers, they hate flesh out of the anxiety created by this frustration. They hate flesh so much, but not only do they want to destroy the flesh of others, they also need to destroy their own flesh, because this is what has been put in their mind. Flesh on this planet is dirty, and you have to destroy it in order to be happy in the afterlife. And this is the pathology of that civilization, which is very different of our pathology in our civilization.
Right. Thank you for this answer. Now, see, we got this comment, and I want, as an American Jew, as an American citizen, well, I'm a Russian Jew originally, but I'm an American citizen. I want to address this comment that you see on our screen, and after my answer, you feel free to respond also, okay? So this person writes, Pierre, thank you for your important work and dedication. I hope your film will make American Jews and non-Jews think hard before voting for Kamala. I wish it was streamed. Okay, so that's the thing. It's an interest. Speaking of curious mental phenomena, I think it's a curious phenomenon that American Jews, big portion of American Jews, will be voting against Donald Trump and for Kamala Harris, knowing everything about Kamala Harris's stance on Israel, knowing that as a part of Biden's administration, they're restraining Israel and they're appeasing Iran all the time. Knowing that if she becomes president, she will be even more radical on Israel. If we listen to any expert on Middle East, David Wormser or Michael Oren or you, Pierre, or anybody who understands, or Dr. Kedar, who you interviewed in your film, who is one of the top world experts on Middle East, you understand that Hamas and Iran were rushing with their attacks because they're afraid that Trump will come back. They are trying to do quickly before Trump, because there is a chance that Trump will come back. And by the same token, Israel right now is rushing to finish the business with Hezbollah and Hamas before Kamala Harris becomes president, which is also possible. Because if Kamala Harris becomes president, it will be really bad news for Israel. So
and for America.
Say again, yes, and for America for sure, yes. And I even wrote an essay called "What Happened to Your Party, Folks?" that I published on my Substack, and I put this essay under our video already, because my explanation why a big part of American Jews are voting for Kamala, because traditionally American Jews were voting Democrat, but the Democratic Party is different now. Democratic Party of the 50s and 60s made a lot of sense. It did a lot of good. I could go to Columbia University as a Russian Jew who just came to America with no money, largely thanks to the Democratic Party of the 50s and 60s. But today's Democratic Party is totally different body, totally different beast. And unfortunately, my feeling is that American Jews don't understand it. Big part of them just don't understand it. And also, some American Jews, unfortunately, they don't care about Israel. Israel is far away. They're comfortable living in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia. But if only we imagine for a moment that Israel is no more, that if Israel is destroyed, then all American Jews and all Jews of the diaspora all over the world will cease to exist very, very quickly. They will be also destroyed. So our chance and hope for survival is the existence of Israel. And, given the record of Donald Trump, his fearless, consistent record of supporting Israel, Abraham Accord that Pierre mentioned, the sanctions against Iran, the assassination of Soleimani, the general, the top general of Iran, the recognition of Golan Heights as Israeli territory, movement of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Yeah. So this is a glorious record. No other president of the second part of the 20th century accomplished that for Israel. So there is no question. So yes, as this person Anastasia says in her comment, yes, American Jews, I think, do need to think very hard before voting for Kamala Harris, because as one of the commentators said on YouTube, my commentator, he said, American Jews who will be voting against Trump will be voting against their survival.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I really could not agree more. I've been living in America for some time, but I know a little better what's going on in France. And because I've been living there more, obviously, for much longer. But what I want to say is that there is really a comparison between what's going on in America and what's going on over there in France. That's why I allow myself to talk about it. Right now, Jews in France would find protection under Le Pen, not under the traditional left.
Yes.
There is a kind of a Nazi party in France that call themselves La France Insoumise, which means not submitted. But at the end of the day, they are submitted to Islam because 90%, 80% of their constituents are Muslims from recent immigration. And they are thriving. They even sent some Muslim Palestinian to the European Union. And the only thing she does all day long is to bash Israel. She doesn't care at all about about the interest of France. She doesn't care at all about her mission and her function. Only thing she does every day is to talk about Israel and the need to erase Israel from the map. So in America, you have a similar situation where, by tradition, the left was the party of humanity, was the party of love and tenderness and future and freedom and open-minded. And by tradition, the conservative were a little more, maybe in the mind of the Jews vote Democrat, they still think of the Republicans of the past. And even though when I think of the Republicans of the past, I cannot but think of Abraham Lincoln, who was a Republican. And today I think they believe in this idea, as you said, of the Democrat Party of the past. But because of the rationality of the need of a civilization like ours to thrive and continue on the same direction, we are a capitalist civilization. Those people from the left lost everything they had at a certain point because they were supposed to represent the workers, the little people. But those workers and those little people, they became okay. They became middle class. They are thinking about their vacation and buying a new car. They are no longer the damned on the earth going to the mines, and this exists, but not in the Western world anymore. Where does that exist? In Sudan, in most Muslim countries, in some countries of Asia, not in the Western world. Western world, no, it doesn't matter how many flaws we have, how many problems capitalism and democracy together have. They are still the only system allowing anybody with a good idea to become somebody, even if it's nobody at the beginning. So the left couldn't find anybody to represent anymore. But all of a sudden, wow, yeah, we have a great idea. There is a whole civilization of miserable people, the Muslims, poor them. Let's be on their side. And this is all started like this with this generous idea of representing people who suffer. And they didn't at only moment think about the fact that if the Muslims suffer, it's because of their own civilization. It's because of the fact that Islam has never been capable of developing anything in the modern world. Islam stopped existing as with its capacity of bringing new ideas about 200 or 300 years ago. The moment Islam decided not to import the printing machine invented by Nuremberg, by Gutenberg, not Nuremberg, and they decided not to import it within the Muslim world because the Quran could only be written by the hand of a man, because a man was made by God, while a printing machine was made by the man. So if the Quran was to be printed by a machine, then it would be an insult to the religion and to the Quran. By doing this, they delayed their capacity of belonging to the modern world by 2 centuries. They remained what they were. It was very easy for Europeans to just conquest them because better organization, because better values, because better at every level. So hence the beginning of colonization. Colonization was not the horrible, terrible, catastrophic thing that everybody today is talking about. I was myself living in a Muslim country when I was a kid. I remember how it was in the streets of Algiers. I didn't see any French soldier arriving on a horse and beating up people in the streets. I didn't see anything bad like that. Nothing really. I mean, yeah, they took resources, but if you had seen Algeria when I left it as a kid, it was thriving. French had built everything, infrastructures, hospitals, airports, you name it, ports, beautiful cities everywhere, and then they left. And they let all that to the Muslims. I came back to Algeria about 15 years ago in 2005 to visit my grandparents' city, their city of origin, where they'd been living for 500 years, and I visited my grandparents' house. I have to say, I was very, very welcome. They were very sweet, very nice, for as long as no mufti and no imam would tell them, here's a Jew, kill him. But, individually, Muslim can be the most sympathetic, most charming, most warm people in the world. They really are. And they didn't build anything. Since I had left when I was a child, my grandparents' house, they didn't even repaint the walls in 4 years. They didn't change anything. Like my grandparents left, was exactly the same. So you are dealing with this civilization that cannot access to the modern world, and now is defended by the leftists, because the leftists try to put the blame on the colonialists, and therefore try to prove that the reason why the Muslims are in the situation in which they are today is because of colonization and nothing else. No. 2 centuries ago, there was no civilization, there was no colonization of all those countries. In France, you had the revolution, and then started the Enlightenments. You had the philosophers. All this took the civilization to where it is now. We're going to send people to Mars. The only thing they want to do is to go back to the 7th century when Prophet Muhammad was beheading everybody who didn't agree with him. This is what they want. They don't want. And if they are using a cell phone, it's just to curse other people who don't think like them. And of course, they will never be capable of inventing such a thing as a cell phone. Not because humans are not equals, because every human is equal, but civilizations and cultures are not equal.
Yes, yes. Pierre, yeah, the only thing I'd like to add to what you said, there are sort of the adequate Middle Eastern Arabic countries like Saudi Arabia wants to be friends with Israel, and you know they probably there is probably a different version of Islam, because, and thanks to Abraham Accords, Saudi Arabia, the relationship with Israel was better and better, and one of the reasons October 7th attack was made by Hamas was to stop that. So that we also need to mention.
Yes, you are right. But when civilization touches each other, there's always a kind of a melting pot in between. There's always in France, when you want to drink a coffee, you said, "Can I have a kawa?" Kawa is Arabic, but it became part of the French culture to say kawa instead of coffee. Like you say parking instead of a garage when you're going to park. It's English, but now it became part of French culture. Yes. The rich Muslim countries sent their people to American and European universities, and they came back with new ideas. And they are still Muslims, but they practice a new kind of Islam in which all the surahs of the surahs of the Quran that call for killing non-Muslims, etc. We don't take those into account anymore. They are leading Islam to its true nature, which is a religion, and therefore a spirituality. So there is a difference between political Islam,
yes,
which is atrocious, and spiritual Islam,
yes,
which leads to beautiful things such as the how do you call that? The guy who turned I have problems of memory. You have no idea, and I apologize for that. It's what as Rolling Stones would say, what a drag it is getting old.
yes, no, but you made your point. Okay, so we are Pierre. We are running out of time, so I have one more question, one last important question for you. So, as you mentioned, you were born in Algeria, so you left Algeria because of anti-Semitism. I understand. Am I right? Right?
More complicated than that, yeah. But
the short answer is this: yes. And then you left for Paris, and at some point you left France for the United States, pretty much for the same reason. And then you left the United States, and finally you moved to Israel, where you live now. So your life story and also your work, makes me ask you this question, especially today, when Jews all over the world who don't live in Israel, the Jews of the diaspora, like myself, because I left Soviet Russia 35 years ago. One of the reasons was, yes, I was moving to America, to a free country that I thought would be better in many ways. And one of the ways, there will be no anti-Semitism. Boy, was I wrong, and now today I look at what's going on at my Alma-Mater, at my Columbia University, right? And so my question to you is this. So does it mean that the truth is that sooner or later, every Jew needs to move to Israel, and the only place that any Jew of the world will feel comfortable and, proud and complete is Israel? Or there is a hope that in diaspora, in other countries, it will get back to normal?
There is a hope. The history of the Jews has always been a pendulum, and the pendulum goes both ways, to the extreme and comes back to the other extreme before getting in the middle. So right now, the pendulum is a little bit the same as it was during the 30s and the 20s of the last century, and the same phenomenon are happening and making the Jews, putting the Jews in danger. The only difference, and it's the first time in the history of the Jews, and this is why they don't forgive us for that, is that now we can defend ourselves. So as long as Israel exists, they know that if they're committing a terror attack in Washington or in Rio de Janeiro, the Mossad could come and take care of it if nobody takes care of it right there. And you are mentioning my different travels, etc. But I didn't move America. I didn't move away from New York to Israel because of anti-Semitism. I moved away for a lot of different reasons, including the fact that I wanted to go back on the field. And when I was in America, you know, I moved to America in 2008. And 2008, you know, it was full time of Barack Hussein Obama, and there was a crisis. I was there to give lectures all around America, but no Jewish organization had any money left. So I spent 3.5 years in America with basically nothing to do. So I said, okay, now I'm going back to Israel. I'm going back to do what I like to do, and I do the best. Try to kick some anti-Israel, whatever, you know what I mean.
Yes.
So yeah, and to answer your question, I still believe that a Jew is not really a Jew until he becomes an Israeli, because to be a Jew means belonging to a people before belonging to a religion. Jews are religious within the people who are the Jewish people. And among them, there are people who are not religious at all. They are still Jews. So we are a people. Now it's even better, because in the past we were people living only in diaspora. Now we are back to our land, Israel. We have a country. So these people has a country. So there is no reason for the Jews to live outside of this country unless they really want to. And this country right now is going through a storm. But once we have victory against the monsters, it will be back to what it was. And even better, there won't be Hezbollah anymore, there won't be Hamas anymore, and perhaps there won't be the Iran that we know today, because my hope is not for Israel to have a victory, but for Iranian people to have a victory against their government.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. Absolutely right. Thank you so much, Pierre, for spending the entire hour with me. It was a very special honor to have you as a guest. God bless Israel, and God bless you for your important work. Please continue, but please be careful with your work, because unfortunately our times are such. So then, you know, anybody who tells the truth, who speaks full truth, it takes special courage now to say obvious things, to say normal, obvious truth. But you know, we got into this interesting times.
Yeah, just saying a man is a man and a woman is a woman is today is almost forbidden.
Yes, yes.
We'll reach that point.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, everybody, don't forget to like our stream, like us, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. And please watch Pierre's documentary called Pogroms, and the link to his website or with the film is under this episode already. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you for having me.